Converting between temperature scales can be a very difficult thing for students if the interval or the degrees are not equal from scale to scale. What I mean by that is if you look at the boiling point of water right here, and we look at the freezing point of water right here, and we take the difference between the boiling and the freezing points, you'll notice that in the Fahrenheit, from the freezing up to the boiling, it's 180 degrees of Fahrenheit change. There's 180 Fahrenheit degrees between boiling and freezing. But on the Celsius scale, there's only 100 degrees of Celsius. So what that means is a degree of Celsius and a degree of Fahrenheit are not the same interval. If I divide both these by 100, it would actually mean that there are 1.8 degrees of Fahrenheit for every 1 degree of Celsius. So a degree of Fahrenheit and a degree of Celsius are not the same degree, or not the same interval. There's basically almost 2 degrees of Fahrenheit for every degree Celsius. So a degree of Celsius is a much bigger interval. It's about twice as big as a degree of Fahrenheit. And therefore, converting between Fahrenheit and Celsius can be rather confusing. So we're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to do that later. What I want to look at right now is how to convert between Celsius and Kelvin. And if you look at that, you'll see that there's 100 degrees of Celsius between boiling and freezing, and there's 100 kelvins between boiling and freezing. Lord Kelvin was a pretty smart individual because he wanted people to be able to convert easily between Celsius and his own scale. So that means 1 degree of Celsius is the same interval as 1 Kelvin, which makes it very easy to convert. So if I have, I know 0 degrees Celsius and 273 Kelvin are the same temperature. 0 degrees Celsius and 273 Kelvin are the same. So that means if I go up to like 5 degrees Celsius, well then what would that temperature be on the Kelvin scale? Well, it's very easy. It would be 5 kelvins above 273, so it would be 278 Kelvin. So all you have to do to figure out like a Kelvin temperature is to add on the degrees of Celsius. So for example, if I want to find Kelvin, I can write an equation. I could write the amount of Kelvin temperature would equal the degrees of Celsius plus 273. So if you look at that, that'll work out. What is, if I put in 0 degrees for my Celsius, 0 plus 273 gives me a temperature in Kelvin of 273, which is what that is. See, 0 degrees Celsius equals 273. So if I want to find out, what's boiling in Kelvin, and I know that boiling in Celsius is 100 degrees. Well, 100 plus 273 equals 373, and that would be my boiling on Kelvin. So this is a very easy conversion factor to go between Celsius and Kelvin. If I want to convert something from Celsius to Kelvin, all I do is add 273. If I want to convert something from Kelvin to Celsius, then all I would do is I would take the Kelvin and I would subtract 273 from it. So if I had 373 Kelvin, that's boiling in Kelvin, I would just subtract 273 and I'd find that boiling in Celsius is 100. So the conversion between Celsius and Kelvin is a very easy thing to do. If I have 40 degrees Celsius and I want to know what the temperature is in Kelvin, I'm just going to add 273 to that. And if I did that, of course, I would get 313 Kelvin. Remember, we don't use degrees of Kelvin, it's just Kelvin. So 313 kelvins would be around 40 degrees Celsius. So hopefully you understand the conversion between Kelvin and Celsius. In the next video we'll look at how to convert other types of scales, which of course is much more complicated.